Hello, hello. It is Corey Network King here with you today. It is April. For those of you that have been watching us and following us, you know that April is International Black Women's History Month. And we are celebrating that a couple different ways this month. We are celebrating that with our event, which is April 20th with Taste Urban Atlanta. And we're also celebrated by spotlighting some women that are in business, some Black women that are in business here in Atlanta and that are, let's just say, movers and shakers that are out here doing their thing. Our goal is to make sure that if you don't know who these people are, then you should. We want to introduce them to you so that you can see, what they've accomplished, what they're doing right now, some of the things that they're going to be doing in the future. So I am super excited, just thrilled to bring on one of my old partners in crime. If you guys are in Atlanta and you remember an event that we did back in, I think it was 2018, 19, something like that, but we did it at the Center for Civil and Human Rights. You remember this young lady. She was one of our panelists that was speaking on stage and dropping gems then, which I know she's going to do now. But I want to introduce you guys to Miss Katerina Taylor. How are you doing?
I am so good, Corey. I'm so excited to be here and talking with you. It's been a minute, but we have been friends for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you have been pushing entrepreneurs to the forefront for a very long time. So appreciate you so much.
You know what? And let me tell you what I love about this networking thing is that true networkers understand that, listen, we ain't got to talk every day. We ain't even got to see each other every day, but we are resources for each other. And we when we see different information going out and stuff, we say, oh, okay, we see what they're doing, great, keeping those tabs, so that when we do connect, that resource and that support is still there. And that is something that I am super glad that we have done that throughout these years. I have been watching you. I wouldn't even say quietly, I've been a fan of yours ever since meeting you. And I'm very, very proud of the accomplishments that you've done just in your life and here in Atlanta. So one of the reasons why that I was so impressed with you is because you did something that, to you might seem like, to a fish is like, what? Swimming ain't that big of a deal. But the people who not fish, they're like, man, how did she do that? You were the first female Black president of the Dekalb Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you that don't really understand, in Georgia's very segregated. And back when you did that, Georgia was a red state. They say it's blue right now, but I don't know, maybe purple, maybe right.
Yeah.
But tell me how that happened. How were you able to get selected as that?
So it seems like so long ago, and I will tell you, I wouldn't have thought myself that I would become the first woman president of the Dekalb Chamber. And many of you know, Dekalb is the fourth largest county in the state of Georgia. So they had options, right? 700,000 residents, 100,000 students. So they definitely had options. But I was really focused. I was working for the chamber. Obviously, I was the membership person. And it was about business development. Just like you said, it was about connecting, and it was about authentic connections, not just, hey, I want you to join or I need your money, but I want you to be a thought partner. I want you to come to the table. I want to know how I can help you. Most of the time, we bring people to the table, but we're not thinking about how we can help them. We're thinking about how they can help us. Yeah. And so for me, it was about how can I grow this organization in an organic way that really supports and helps the community. So it was, developing those relationships with elected officials, developing those relationships with leaders across the community, and not just across DeKalb, because it was leadership across the state of Georgia. Making sure that I was invited to the party, even when, they didn't want to see a little Black girl like me in the party, right? But, I made sure that I was making those connections, and along the way, Corey, bringing people along with me, making sure that my platform was their platform. And so that was important to me. And I think, that's one of the reasons why I was blessed with that position, because I think God knew if I give this to her, she's going to give it away to everybody else. And so that's always been important to me.
Yes. So you got elected, you won all of that. Let me guess, it was just open arms and welcoming just across the whole organization, right? Everybody was like, yay!
I wish it was not. There were those that definitely embraced me, and there were those that I did an event once, and obviously there are many chambers across the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
And some are very wealthy chambers and have heavy resources, where we were getting there. And I was doubling our revenues. I was doubling, tripling the amount of people attending our event. So it was, we were doing really well.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I didn't have all the resources compared to, some of my peers and colleagues. So I had to like burn the midnight oil, make sure that I was talking to the right people, not talking to the wrong people. And I remember doing an event, and one of our members came. He was not a member. He was a member of another chamber, but his business was in the county, in Dekalb. And he said, I'm so impressed with you. When they named you the president, I just wasn't sure if you were going to make it because I didn't know anything about you. And he said, on this panel tonight, you knew more than everybody else. And what I told him is because I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I read everything I can possibly read. While they have people that are briefing them on things, I have to brief myself. So it was a lot of work, and I didn't always have the support that I needed. And I will tell you this too, Corey, and I think you are the exact same way. Sometimes we think a little bit further in the future, and people just can't catch up sometimes. So it's important. Yeah, I always say I was thinking too far ahead or too fast, or
and they just dumb this down a little bit.
Yeah, but that when you and to all the entrepreneurs out there, when you have a great idea and you got to convince people and you got to bring them along, but it slows down the momentum of you getting to where you need to go. And so it was a lot of that. It was a lot of pulling. It was a lot of convincing. It was a lot of consensus building. But that's all about relationships and cultivating those relationships.
Yeah.
That's what word, right?
You kind of touch home a little bit for me, because I think about all of these times that for me, that I have created certain things, and I have this thing that I call where I'm just in the lab working, right, just concocting ideas, and when you start doing that and you come with these progressive ideas, and again, it's like, wait a minute, but it makes sense, but not everybody actually sees it. It can be very challenging, and I'm certain that in that role that you were in, especially with you doubling I know that in order for you to double and triple those numbers, for those numbers to go up, that you could not do the same thing that was done before.
Status quo, yeah, couldn't do the status quo.
So you had to do something different, and I know you got pushback.
Oh yeah, let me tell you, I have stories. Corey, I once hosted an event with a very controversial speaker.
Okay.
But I felt like it was important for the community and the business community to hear both sides, right? You have lobbyists, you have people out there advocating for one thing, but sometimes what's good for one community may not necessarily be good for another, right? And I thought it was fair, especially for underserved communities, disadvantaged communities. We need to make sure that we have all the information.
Yeah.
And I brought in a speaker, and that speaker brought in so much money for that event. But I will tell you, when I announced that who the speaker was going to be for the event, I got an email in all caps from a very influential business leader in Atlanta and said, "How dare you?" And I said, well, I would love for you to come and hear him speak, to hear his side of the story, because I think it's important that we're educating ourselves on either side, and we make a decision as a region. Yeah. So I have plenty of those stories.
Listen, we gonna get into some at some point. So how long were you in that role, and what was one of the greatest things that you brought from that role?
So I was in that role for about 5 years, but at the chamber, and 5.5 years, but at the chamber for a total of 7. I think, it was, I had a much tougher, thicker skin when I left the chamber. Right. But I also left with amazing relationships. So from the State House to DC to all over the country. So now when people call and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, I've gotten people jobs out of the state. Right. So those relationships, like you said, I may not talk to my connections every day or every week or even every year, but when I need them, they show up, and I always make sure that I do the same. So lots of reciprocal, beneficial, mutually beneficial relationships.
You spoke on, go ahead.
I was going to say, and a brand, right? I was able to brand myself with the chamber while I was also branding the chamber with me. And that has opened up so many other doors. And I know we'll get into that conversation too.
Yes, yes. You speak on relationships, and one thing that I have been doing for the last little over 12 years is by telling people how important it is to grow your business while by networking, by meeting other people. We have this phrase called "it takes a village to grow a business," and we truly believe in using people as resources and not as transactions like, oh, I need this client. No, no, no. Like everybody's a resource and pulling those resources to you. How important has networking been for you, not just at your time at the chamber, but just in general?
Absolutely. And I'll give you another quote. Businesses grow at the speed of relationships.
I
Right.
like that. I like that.
And it's important that, you're cultivating the relationship, even though when you don't feel like it. I mean, Corey, the pandemic has allowed us to kind of rest and relax and be home.
Yeah.
And we were all moving so quickly and all the time. But those relationships matter, pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Because we knew we were going to need them post-pandemic as well. It is critical to your business. It is critical to your brand because, when you're building those relationships, they're speaking your name in rooms that you may not be able to be invited to.
Yeah.
Or if there's an opportunity, they're speaking your name, they're perpetuating your brand, and you should be doing the same thing, right? And so relationships really are about who you are, right? Who you want to be, who you're telling the world you are, and
Yeah.
that people are validating that,
Yes.
right? But if you don't have relationships to validate that, how do you get business?
Yeah.
How do you get repeat business? You might get business, but
how do you get repeat business? Anybody can get it once.
Right? Yeah, because one customer is not sustainable, but that customer repeated several times and you multiply that by several repeat customers. Now you've got a sustainable business with some sustainable growth that you can truly scale.
Yeah.
And you can directly relate that back to your relationships.
Back to and it is so interesting to me when I think about everything that I've accomplished. I couldn't do it without my network. Period. I couldn't do it without my network.
Yeah, but you know what, Corey, the thing about you is though, a lot of many of my relationships, like many others, I'm sure in the entrepreneurship ecosystem of Atlanta, they built those relationships because of a pro networker event. Right.
And you know what? And I thank you for saying that. And I stand on that. That is something that I truly believe all of us have. I believe all of us have gifts that we're here to do. And I set out to say, before I started Pro Networker, is that I want to truly help people build their business by matching them up with somebody else. And I absolutely love when I get the call or when I get the email, hey, Corey, I am so glad I went to your event. I met this person. We are now doing business. My business is growing. I've saved some money. I've gotten more clients. I've done this or whatever. Because coming to your event or listening to your workshop or hitting the nugget that you had, it helped my business take a step forward. Yeah. If that happens, I have done my job. So thank you for saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will tell all your audiences and the people that subscribe to, Pro Networker and all the other organizations and, things that you're doing is engage with you more, because I will tell you, you giving me a platform to moderate a panel, to give me a Pro Networker award. And that was many, many years ago, but it also helps to build my platform. It also helps to build out my brand. And so, people, I would just say, I'm telling everybody who's listening, if he's coming to you for something, say yes.
Right.
Say yes.
Y'all heard that, right?
Yeah, you will benefit. You will benefit in the end. So.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot about that event that we gave you the networking award for women in network. Like that was, let me tell you, this pandemic that makes it feel like it was ages ago.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you were able to participate in that. I was about to go down memory lane. So you were with the chamber for with the chamber 7 years, but you were president for 5. So once you stepped out of that role, what was the next steps for you?
So I will tell you, the interesting thing is, as you said, I was in that role, sometimes just always feeling like I was fighting for my place. And then I got a tap on the shoulder by Mayor Lance Bottoms of the city of Atlanta to come work for her in her cabinet and lead her workforce development agency.
So before you go
So
forward, so you're the president of the chamber, and now because of
yeah,
that role, you on the radar of the mayor of Atlanta and did such a good job in that role. Mayor's like, you know what? Because the mayor has the ability to appoint
anybody, right?
anybody, right? Wow. Okay, go ahead, proceed.
So it was fantastic. It was a great experience. I had worked with government and, working with the chamber, but never worked inside of government before. So it was interesting. It was different. It was always very fast paced, always things moving and changing. Mayor Bottoms was a great mayor to work for. And then about a year and a half into my appointment, I got a call from a major law firm. It's one of the top, it's a 63rd largest law firm in the nation. We've got 32 offices across the country, and we do business all over the world. I got a call to lead their national DEI efforts. So I am now, leading their DEI efforts, which has been amazing. But going from government, you can't really run your own business, right? You are focused on, your lot of federal grants and things. So you don't want to jeopardize any of those things. You're a good steward of taxpayer dollars. So you don't really have the time to focus on other businesses or focus on a business if you want to do that. But the role I'm in now has really allowed me to do that. And because I work with attorneys who are extremely smart and in different practices and in different ways, has given me great advice, and, very thoughtful. And my organization, my firm is very open to me having a business. And that was important because of the city, again, working for government that's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
And so about during the pandemic, Corey, I just remember traveling because I love traveling, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But there was one thing that was always consistent with my travel was I would have coffee everywhere. I would drink coffee, whether it was Cuba, Morocco, Mexico, wherever, Israel, I had coffee.
Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, I just had more time to drink coffee because I was at home. But I realized that I would go to the store and all the coffee either sounded like dessert, and I just didn't know exactly what I wanted. Did I want light? Did I want dark? Did I want medium?
Right.
And so I said, you know what? I have a business partner and he's the same way. He's traveled all over the world and he drinks coffee too. We drink ours different. We prepare it differently, but we said, what if we could take all the coffee that we've drank all over the world and bring it to Bankhead? We could bring it to Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, Grove Park, Bankhead. So we did that. We work with roasters. We work with roasters, all over the country, outside of the country, to decide what was that taste and that flavor that will really represent, a global taste, but also really be inclusive to the Atlanta culture, right? We are an Atlanta-based coffee company.
Okay.
And so we started hot coffee. You can't get any simpler than that, right?
Sounds easy.
Yes, we wanted to, being so confused, going to the store, trying to figure out which coffee brand or flavor that I wanted. I was like, we're going to simplify the gourmet market, the gourmet coffee market. We're going to bring the best coffee, the best beans, and we're going to make it easy. So,
and that's what people want. They want it. It sounds like you're doing it in one of the greatest industries. I some years ago, I don't know if you remember Organo Gold, but we were pushing the coffee. But in one of their educationals, they were talking about the coffee industry. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but they were talking about the coffee industry and about like how much money is generated in the coffee industry. And it really made sense to me when they said, think about the company Dunkin' Donut, where in there, the name is donut.
Right.
They changed their logo from a donut to a coffee cup. And then change the name now, they dropped the donut part. And I was like, wow, what would make a company do that? And it's that the power of that industry and the revenues that in that industry. So you are in the right industry, and it sounds like you are innovating it. You're changing it. You're making a little disruption in it.
Yeah, definitely trying to. There's not a lot of minority-owned coffee companies, but we are the only minority-owned coffee company that accepts cryptocurrency as a preferred form of payment.
Really?
So we want people to think about crypto and that world in a different way. Cryptocurrency doesn't have to be just an asset class.
Right.
It is a way now that, and in the future, and honestly, not even in the future, because it's happening right now.
It's happening right now.
People are exchanging goods and services with cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So you can go to our website, you can buy a coffee, and you can use your crypto card.
What?
Yeah. So, as we think about all the South American countries, even some of the European, Middle Eastern countries, they all accept cryptocurrency. It's one way for them to help manage inflation, but it's another way for them to just exchange goods and services.
Yeah.
And so, if you're listening to the news and you're listening to now all the regulations that they're considering and Web3 and what does Web3 look like and NFTs, how do we engage in that as a Black community, as a cultural community here in Atlanta?
Yeah, yeah.
What does that look like? And Corey, I go back to what I said earlier, sometimes you're thinking ahead of people. And clearly cryptocurrency has been out for a very long time. I wish I would have been thinking this way then, but also I want to remind people who are still not yet engaged, got to get engaged. It's really important.
Yeah.
And so you may not want to go buy a car with cryptocurrency. You may not be that comfortable yet, but you could buy a bag of coffee.
You buy a bag of coffee.
You can buy 2 or 3. But if we can get you comfortable with goods and services being exchanged through cryptocurrency, then, we're on to something, I think.
So, and you brought something up, which was, being ahead of that curve. So like, yes, you guys are doing coffee, yes. But then you added that technological piece to it by another form of payment that you're taking. For me, I don't know much about cryptocurrency. I've obviously been hearing quite a bit about it, blockchain, all of that. What have you seen as far as maybe the Black community versus other communities, as far as their acceptance to, your form of payments that you're taking, the technology that you're using? Have you seen a lot of open arms to it? Have you seen some?
So I will tell you, and I think this is a really, really important point. The Black community is very much so open to it. Black and brown people are very much engaged in cryptocurrency, especially the Spanish community, Hispanic community, because of South America.
Okay.
But what I will say is, now that you're hearing so many regulations being thought, okay, well, how do we regulate this? How do we make sure that we make our tax money? How do we make sure we make our money on this?
Yeah.
Well, if we're early adopters of cryptocurrency, and when I say we, I mean the Black community, the Black and brown communities.
Yeah.
Then why wouldn't they want to put regulations on it, right? So you all need to be thinking about it. I don't care. I'm not an expert in crypto, but there's a podcast, there's books, there's go read, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I post crypto articles all the time. Yeah. And they're not boring articles, they're very brief reads, but it's how do I start to make sure that I'm putting that type of education out there as a part of my brand, right? Yeah. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I think it's important when you start hearing global news about countries are moving to crypto platforms, right? Yeah. And that's their now preferred form of currency exchange.
Yeah.
So that's coming, right? I mean, we're a Western civilization.
Yeah.
It's coming.
So it's coming / here, like,
It's here. And if we're not paying attention to it, I always say this, when I was at the chamber, obviously being a part of economic development, but I would say change can happen for you or it can happen to you, but you get to decide.
Love that.
Are you going to allow it to change for you for the best and you can manipulate what that looks like? Or is it just you're just going to sit here and let it, happen
run you over?
right, run you over,
You can be in
right?
the
And
car or you can get ran, one of the two, but it's
one of
happening.
the two. One of the two. So yeah, so I'm really encouraging people just to, think about it, read up on it, engage, have conversations. And that goes back to also relationships. Who do you know out there that understands it?
Yeah,
Give them a call, have a cup of coffee with them, right? Tell me what you know. Tell me what I should be reading, what resources are available to me.
yeah.
So
And what is your goal for hot coffee?
So the goal for hot coffee is one, we want to, obviously increase our sales, increase our customer base, increase our brand.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal, Corey, is that we have a coffee shop in Bankhead, in Grove Park in the city of Atlanta.
Okay.
We are really excited because obviously if you're here in Atlanta, you know about the Beltline. And so we are now being served in Yay Beignet on the Beltline.
Okay.
And we're looking at other stores and restaurants that will be serving our coffee. So we're really excited about that. But I think the ultimate goal is to have our own, Bankhead Born and Brewed coffee shop.
Well,
So
listen, I already know that it's gonna happen.
thank you.
You have been in my circle for a long time, and what I know about you is what you have written down come to fruition.
Yeah,
Period. Period.
that's so important. Written down is so
What you
important.
have written down, it is already yours. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Please tell people how they can find you, how they can plug into what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow us on Instagram at Love Hot Coffee. And again, that's IG and Twitter. So at Love Hot Coffee. And our website's the same, Corey. It's at lovehotcoffee.com. So please purchase coffee. Please engage with us on Instagram. We're going to be doing some pop-up shops, here in the summer, and in the spring. And so we'll post those pop-up shops as well.
Yes.
But we're getting really close to getting the coffee shop open, as well as, you'll hear more restaurants will release more names that will be serving hot coffee along the Beltline.
Amazing. Definitely want you to keep us abreast of when you're doing those pop-ups. After, I'm gonna go ahead and announce it now. We haven't announced this yet, but beginning in May, we're gonna actually start doing some pop-ups as well. So we are gonna actually be going into the community in between of our large events, going to brick and mortar places, and just kind of posting up and just inviting people out to come check out this place. If you haven't been here before, come check them out, see what they're doing, stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely would love to be involved with anything that you're doing, because again,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we do. We support each other.
That's absolutely what we do. And I'll say two things. So just to make sure that if you're interested in coffee, you can get it in whole bean or ground. And in May, we'll be introducing our single pods, which will be compatible with a Keurig machine. So we're super excited about our K-Cups.
Man, listen, I already know. I already know this is going to be great. And I appreciate it. Well, listen, thank you again for being one of our featured Black women in business for the month of April. We will see you at the event April 20th. For those of you that have not gotten your ticket for the event for April 20th yet, please go to tasteurban.com. You'll be able to get some tickets there. If you want to have a vendor table, sorry, those are sold out. We've sold over 70 exhibitor tables for this event. We are super excited. If you haven't been to the Foundry, beautiful, beautiful location. It's going to be an amazing event. So again, you will see some of the other women that we're featuring this month, but you'll get a chance to actually see and meet Miss Katerina Taylor. So real
Thank you
good.
so much, Corey.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.